"Mommy, why does Daddy hit you?" The box of cornflakes slipped from Emma's fingers. It hit the linoleum with a hollow thud that echoed down the aisle like a gunshot. Her daughter Lily, barely 5 years old, stared up at her with those impossibly blue eyes. Jake's eyes, though Lily had inherited none of his cruelty. Emma's hands shook as she bent to retrieve the box. "Sweetheart, that's not, but I heard him last night, and I saw the purple on your arm when you were getting dressed." The bruise. Emma had been so careful, long sleeves even though it was 70 degrees outside. But children saw everything, didn't they? They saw the truth adults tried so desperately to hide. "Lily, baby, it's complicated. Does he hit you because you're bad?" Lily's voice carried that devastating innocence that only children possessed. Loud enough that Emma's stomach dropped. Loud enough that anyone nearby would hear. Emma knelt down fast, ignoring the way her ribs protested. 3 days old, that injury, from when she'd burned the pot roast. No, sweetheart. Mommy's not bad. Sometimes grown-ups just... She couldn't finish. What was she supposed to say? That Daddy gets angry, and Mommy's learned not to fight back because it only makes things worse? That the police won't help because Jake's brother is a sergeant, and the one time she called, they never even showed up? That she was saving every spare dollar in a tampon box under the bathroom sink, $38 after 2 years of trying, because Jake monitored every penny? "Mommy, you're crying." Emma touched her cheek. Wet. She hadn't even realized. That's when she felt it. The weight of someone's attention. Heavy as a physical touch. She looked up. The man stood at the end of the aisle, one hand resting on a shopping cart that held nothing but a bottle of expensive whiskey and a bag of coffee. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with dark hair swept back from a face that would have been handsome, if not for the calculating coldness in his gray eyes. His suit probably cost more than Emma's car. Charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, completely out of place in a discount grocery store on a Tuesday morning. He was looking directly at her. No, not at her. At the bruise peeking out from beneath her sleeve where she'd pushed it up to grab the cereal from the top shelf. Emma's blood turned to ice. He'd heard everything. She grabbed Lily's hand and stood too fast, the room tilting. "We need to go." "But Mommy, we didn't get..." "Now, Lily!" Emma abandoned the cart and pulled her daughter toward the opposite end of the aisle, away from the man with the gray eyes and the expensive suit. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The good ones, not the ones that ached when she breathed too deep. They made it 3 steps before he spoke. "Excuse me." His voice was smooth, controlled, the kind of voice that was used to being obeyed. Emma kept walking. "Ma'am, I'd like to speak with you for a moment." "We're late," Emma called over her shoulder, not looking back. The exit was 50 feet away. 45. 40. "It's about what your daughter said." Emma stopped. Of course she did, because what if he was someone official? What if he was a social worker or a court officer or someone who could take Lily away? They did that, didn't they? Took children from mothers who couldn't protect them. She turned slowly, positioning herself between Lily and the stranger. "I don't know what you think you heard." "I heard a little girl ask her mother why her father hits her." He walked toward them with measured steps, each footfall deliberate. "I heard a mother who couldn't answer because the truth was too ugly to speak out loud." Emma's nails bit into her palms. "You don't know anything about my life." "I know bruises." He stopped 6 feet away, close enough that she could see the small scar above his left eyebrow, the way his jaw tightened when he glanced down at Lily. "I know fear. I know what it looks like when someone's living in a cage they can't escape." "Are you a cop?" Something flickered across his face, amusement maybe, or something darker. "No. I'm not a cop." "Then we have nothing to discuss." She turned again, pulling Lily toward the checkout lanes. This time he didn't call after them, but Emma could feel his gaze following them all the way to the exit. It wasn't until she'd buckled Lily into her booster seat and climbed behind the wheel of their rusted Honda that she let herself look back. He stood in the store window, phone pressed to his ear, watching her car. Emma's hands trembled so badly it took 3 tries to get the key in the ignition. Jake was waiting when they got home. He stood in the doorway of their cramped apartment, still in his work uniform, security guard, night shift at the warehouse. His shift didn't end until 4. It was barely 10:30. "Where were you?" His voice was calm. That was the worst sign. When Jake was calm, violence followed like thunder after lightning. "Grocery store, like I said this morning. You said you'd be back by 10. It's 10:37. Emma guided Lily inside, her daughter's hand rigid in hers. "There was a line at checkout. I'm sorry, you should have been here." Jake closed the door behind them, the lock clicking with a finality that made Emma's throat tight. "I come home early to surprise you, and you're not here. You know how that looks? I was just getting food for... It looks like you don't respect my time. Like you think you can just do whatever you want." Lily tugged Emma's hand. "Mommy, I'm hungry." "Not now, baby." Emma's voice came out strangled. "Go to your room." "But now, Lily, please." Her daughter's face crumpled, but she obeyed, disappearing down the short hallway to the bedroom she shared with Emma. Jake didn't like Lily sleeping in the second bedroom. He needed that for his home office, though Emma had never once seen him work in there. The moment Lily's door closed, Jake grabbed Emma's arm, the one with the bruise. His fingers dug into the tender flesh with practiced precision, finding the exact center of the injury. Emma bit back a gasp. 7 minutes, Jake said softly. 7 minutes you decided your time was more valuable than mine. The line was long, I swear, I didn't... His other hand shot up, palm flat, stopping an inch from her face. Emma flinched so hard she stumbled backward into the wall. Jake smiled. "Pathetic! I wasn't even going to hit you?" The knock on the door made them both freeze. Nobody knocked on their door. Emma had no friends, Jake had made sure of that. No family in the city. The landlord lived 3 states away and communicated exclusively through email. Jake's eyes narrowed. "You expecting someone?" "No, I swear, no." The knock came again, harder this time. "I know you're in there." That voice, smooth and controlled and completely out of place in their run-down apartment complex. The man from the grocery store. Jake's hand dropped from Emma's arm. "Who the hell is that?" "I don't know," Emma whispered. "I've never seen him before today." "Today?" Jake's voice went dangerous. "You saw him today?" "At the store. He was just there. I didn't..." Jake crossed to the door in 3 strides and yanked it open. "Can I help you?" The stranger stood in the hallway, looking entirely unbothered by Jake's aggressive tone. Up close, in the harsh light of their building's dying fluorescence, he was even more imposing than he'd been in the store. Tall enough that Jake, who was 5'10" and proud of it, had to look up slightly. Broad-shouldered enough that he filled the doorway. "I'm looking for Emma." His gray eyes moved past Jake, landing on her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "We met this morning. She left before I could finish our conversation." Jake's back went rigid. "What conversation?" "That's between me and her." The stranger smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "It's rude to make a lady wait, don't you think? Step aside." "This is my home. I'm not stepping anywhere." Jake puffed up, shoulders back, jaw tight. Emma had seen him do this before, usually right before he threw a punch at someone who'd looked at him wrong at the bar. "You need to leave. Now." "No." The single word hung in the air like a blade. Jake laughed, the sound ugly and sharp. "Listen, buddy. I don't know who you think you are." "My name is Roman Volkov." The stranger, Roman, slipped one hand into his pocket with casual elegance. "And I think I'm the man who's going to have a conversation with Emma. You can make this easy or difficult. Your choice." Something in his tone made Jake hesitate. Emma saw it, the flicker of uncertainty, the way her husband's confidence wavered like a candle in the wind. "Volkov?" Jake repeated slowly. "Why do I know that name?" "Because you're not as stupid as you look." Roman's smile widened. Now, Emma, please come here. Emma's feet moved before her brain caught up. She couldn't have stopped herself if she wanted to. There was a command in his voice that bypassed conscious thought and spoke directly to something primal. Jake grabbed her wrist. You're not going anywhere with this freak. Roman's expression didn't change, but something shifted in the air. A pressure, almost, like the moment before a storm breaks. Take your hand off her. Or what? Jake's fingers tightened. Emma felt the bones in her wrist grind together. This is my wife. My home. You've got no right. Roman moved. Emma didn't see him cross the threshold. One moment he was in the hallway. The next he was inside their apartment. One hand wrapped around Jake's throat, lifting him onto his toes with seemingly no effort at all. I said, Roman's voice remained perfectly calm. Take your hand off her. Jake released Emma's wrist immediately, both hands flying up to claw at Roman's grip. His face turned red, then purple as he struggled to breathe. Stop! Emma heard herself say. Please, you're going to kill him. Roman glanced at her, and for a moment she thought he might actually do it. There was something cold and calculating in those gray eyes, weighing options, considering outcomes. Then he released Jake. Her husband collapsed against the wall, gasping and coughing, one hand pressed to his throat. You can't. I can. Roman straightened his cuffs, utterly composed. I can do quite a lot of things, Jake. Things that would give you nightmares. Things that would make you pray for something as merciful as death. He paused. Do you know what I do for a living? Jake stared at him, speechless. I solve problems, permanently. It's the family business, you might say. Roman turned to Emma, and when he spoke again, his voice was gentler. Pack a bag. You and your daughter. You're leaving. Emma's mind went blank. What? You're leaving, he repeated as if it were the simplest thing in the world. Right now. This moment. I can't just... Yes, you can. Roman's gaze moved back to Jake, who'd slumped to the floor, still clutching his throat. He's not going to stop you, are you, Jake? Jake said nothing. I asked you a question. Roman took a step toward him. Just one step, but Jake scrambled backward like a kicked dog. Are you going to try to stop her? No, Jake wheezed. No, I won't. I won't stop her. Good. Roman looked at Emma again. 5 minutes. Pack what you need. Anything else can be replaced. Emma's heart was a war drum in her chest. Who are you? Really? I already told you my name. That's not what I mean. What do you want from me? Roman studied her for a long moment, and Emma had the unsettling feeling he could see straight through her, reading every thought, every fear, every desperate hope she'd tried to bury. Right now, he said finally, I want to make sure you and your daughter don't spend another night under the same roof as a man who thinks violence is an acceptable response to being inconvenienced. He paused. After that, we'll see. It wasn't an answer. It also wasn't a lie. Emma could tell that much. Whatever Roman Volkov wanted, he meant what he said about getting her out of this apartment. Lily appeared in the hallway, eyes wide. Mommy? Decision made. Whether it was the right one or the wrong one, Emma didn't know. But she was so tired of being afraid, so tired of measuring every word, every action, every breath against the possibility of Jake's anger. Go pack your favorite toys, baby, Emma said quietly. We're going somewhere else tonight. Forever? Lily's voice was small but hopeful. Emma looked at Jake, crumpled on the floor, defeated and humiliated. Then at Roman, standing calm and controlled, and utterly certain in her living room. Yeah, baby, she whispered. Forever. Roman's car was exactly what Emma expected. Sleek, black, expensive. A Mercedes with leather seats that probably cost more than she made in a year. Lily sat in the back, clutching her stuffed rabbit, eyes wide as she took in the interior. Emma sat in the passenger seat with her one duffel bag at her feet, trying to remember how to breathe normally. "Where are we going?" she asked as Roman pulled out of the parking lot. "Somewhere safe." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have right now." He glanced at her, and Emma was struck again by how gray his eyes were, like steel, like smoke. "I have a property downtown, secure, quiet. You'll stay there until we figure out your next steps." "We?" "Yes, we." Roman turned onto the main road, navigating traffic with the same controlled precision he seemed to apply to everything. "You don't have a plan, do you? No money saved, no family to turn to, no job that would support you and your daughter." Emma's cheeks burned. "How do you? Because if you had any of those things, you would have left already." He said it matter-of-factly, without judgment. Women don't stay with men like Jake because they enjoy it. They stay because they're trapped. No resources, no options, no way out. It was so accurate it hurt. "So what? You're rescuing me?" Emma heard the bitterness in her own voice. "And what do you get in return? Nobody does something like this without wanting something." Roman was quiet for a moment, his hands steady on the wheel. "My sister," he said finally. "Alexandra. She stayed with a man who hurt her, made excuses, covered bruises, convinced herself it would get better." Emma's throat tightened. What happened to her? "He killed her." The words were flat, emotionless. 3 years ago. "Strangled her in their bedroom while their children slept down the hall." "I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry." Roman's jaw tightened, the first real emotion she'd seen from him. "Be smart. Be safe. Let me help you." In the back seat, Lily had fallen asleep, her head resting against the window. Emma watched her daughter's chest rise and fall, peaceful in a way she rarely was at home. "Why did you come to the apartment?" Emma asked quietly. "You could have just let us go at the store." "I could have." Roman merged onto the highway, the city lights streaking past. "But then I thought about my sister. About all the times someone might have intervened and didn't. All the people who heard something, saw something, knew something, and decided it wasn't their business. And you decided I was your business?" He looked at her then. Really looked at her, and Emma felt something shift in her chest. Not attraction, or not just attraction. Something deeper, more dangerous. "Yes," Roman said simply. "I decided you were my business." The apartment, though calling it an apartment seemed inadequate, occupied the top floor of a building in the financial district. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, and the furniture was the kind of elegant, minimalist design that Emma had only seen in magazines. Lily woke up when they parked in the underground garage, groggy and confused. "Where are we?" "Somewhere new," Emma said, unbuckling her seatbelt. "Come on, baby." Roman led them to a private elevator, using a keycard to access the top floor. The doors opened directly into the apartment, a security feature Emma realized. Nobody could reach this floor without permission. 2 bedrooms, Roman said, giving them a brief tour. "Bathrooms through there. Kitchen's fully stocked. There's a security system. It's already armed, and I'm the only one with the code besides you." "Besides me?" Emma repeated. He pulled a card from his pocket and handed it to her. "Your access key. And the code is your daughter's birthday. 0518. Emma stared at the card in her hand. "How did you know Lily's birthday?" "I know a lot of things." Roman moved toward the door. "I need to handle some business, but I'll be back in a few hours. Don't open the door for anyone. Don't call anyone. Just rest. Wait." Emma followed him. "I don't understand any of this. You don't know me. Why are you helping me?" Roman paused in the doorway, his back to her. When he spoke, his voice was soft. "Because I couldn't help Alexandra. And maybe that means I can't save anyone. But I can try." He looked back over his shoulder. "Get some sleep, Emma. You're safe here." Then he was gone, the elevator doors closing with a quiet hiss. Emma stood in the middle of the pristine living room, Lily's hand in hers, and tried to process what had just happened. 6 hours ago, she'd been standing in a cereal aisle, terrified and trapped. Now she was in a luxury apartment with a stranger's promise of safety and no idea what came next. "Mommy?" Lily tugged her hand. "Is this where we live now?" Emma looked down at her daughter's hopeful face and made a decision. Right or wrong, safe or dangerous, this was their chance. "Yeah, baby," she whispered. "This is where we live now." Emma didn't sleep. How could she? Instead, she spent the night alternating between staring out the windows at the city below and checking on Lily, who'd fallen asleep immediately in the smaller bedroom, starfished across a bed bigger than anything she'd ever slept in. Around 3 a.m, Emma heard the elevator chime. She froze in the living room, heart hammering, every instinct screaming danger even though Roman had said he'd be back. What if it wasn't him? What if Jake had somehow followed them? What if... Roman stepped off the elevator, and Emma's panic subsided into a different kind of tension. He looked tired. The first sign of imperfection she'd seen. His tie was loose, his jacket slung over one shoulder, and there was a darkness under his eyes that hadn't been there before. "You're still awake," he observed, setting his jacket on a chair. "I couldn't sleep." "Understandable." He moved to the kitchen, pulling a bottle of water from the refrigerator. "How's your daughter?" "Sleeping like she doesn't have a care in the world." Emma wrapped her arms around herself. "Where were you?" Roman took a long drink before answering. "Taking care of Jake." Emma's blood went cold. What does that mean? It means he won't be bothering you anymore. Roman leaned against the counter, studying her. "He's been made aware that any attempt to contact you, find you, or come near you or your daughter will result in immediate and severe consequences. You threatened him." "I did more than threaten him." Roman's voice was matter-of-fact. "I made him understand exactly what would happen if he stepped out of line, and I have people watching him now. If he so much as drives past this building, I'll know." Emma should have been horrified, should have been appalled by the casual way Roman talked about threatening her husband. Ex-husband? Were they separated now? Divorced? Instead, she felt something closer to relief. "Who are you?" she asked again. "And don't just say your name. Tell me the truth." Roman set down the water bottle. "The truth is complicated. Try me." He was quiet for a long moment, and Emma thought he might not answer. Then he sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. "My family came to this country 60 years ago from Russia. They brought with them certain traditions, certain ways of doing business that aren't exactly legal." He met her eyes. "I'm what you might call a criminal, Emma. I run an organization that operates outside the law. The Mafia." Emma's voice was barely a whisper. "That's the word most people use, yes." Roman didn't look away. "I won't lie to you about what I am or what I do. I've hurt people, killed people when necessary. I'm not a good man by any conventional definition." Emma should run, should grab Lily and get as far away from Roman Volkov as possible. Instead, she found herself asking, "Then why help me?" "Because what I do to people who know the risks, who choose this life." His voice hardened. "What Jake did to you, that's different. You didn't choose violence. You didn't sign up for fear. You were just trying to survive." "And now I'm in debt to a mob boss." Emma laughed, the sound edged with hysteria. "That's better? You're not in debt to me." Roman pushed off from the counter, crossing the space between them. He stopped close enough that Emma had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "I'm not keeping a ledger, Emma. I'm not waiting for you to repay me with favors or loyalty or anything else. I helped you because I could, because I wanted to. That's all. Nobody does something for nothing. Then consider me an anomaly." He reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away, and brushed his thumb across her cheek. Emma realized she was crying. "You're safe here. That's not a transaction. It's a promise. Emma couldn't remember the last time someone had touched her gently. Jake's touches were always rough, possessive, designed to control. Roman's thumb on her cheek was soft, careful, like she was something precious that might break. "I don't know what to do," she whispered. "I don't have a plan. I don't have money or a job or any idea how to start over. Then we'll figure it out." Roman's hand dropped. "Together, one step at a time." "Why do you keep saying we?" "Because I'm not walking away from this, Emma. I'm not leaving you to figure everything out alone." He stepped back, giving her space. "Get some sleep. We'll talk more in the morning." He turned toward what must have been the master bedroom, but Emma's voice stopped him. "Roman?" "Yes?" "Thank you." The words felt inadequate, too small for what he'd done. For everything. Roman looked at her over his shoulder, and for the first time since she'd met him, he smiled. A real smile, not the cold, calculated expression he'd worn at the grocery store or in her apartment. "You're welcome," he said quietly. Then he disappeared into his room, leaving Emma alone in the living room with her thoughts and a feeling she couldn't quite name. Not quite hope, not quite safety, but something close. The next 3 weeks passed in a strange, suspended reality. Roman kept his promise. He helped Emma file for divorce, using lawyers that made Jake's public defender look like a high school intern. He helped her find a job, nothing glamorous but steady work as an administrative assistant at a company that didn't ask too many questions about her employment gap. He enrolled Lily in a good school, the kind with art programs and small class sizes, and he never asked for anything in return. Emma waited for it, the other shoe, the hidden price, the moment when Roman would reveal what he really wanted from her. But it never came. He was simply there. Present but not intrusive, helpful but not controlling. He'd come home in the evenings, home because Emma had started thinking of the apartment that way despite herself, and ask about her day. He'd sit with Lily while she did homework, patient in a way Jake had never been. He'd cook dinner sometimes, actual meals that weren't boxed mac and cheese or frozen pizza. It was domestic, normal. The kind of life Emma had dreamed about but never thought she'd have. And it was terrifying. "You're thinking too loud," Roman said one evening. They sat on the couch after Lily had gone to bed, the city lights twinkling below them. "I can hear it from here." Emma startled. She'd been staring at her hands, trying to reconcile the person she'd been a month ago with the person she was becoming. "I don't understand you," she admitted. "I keep waiting for you to show your true colors, to turn into something ugly. And if I do, then at least I'd understand. At least it would make sense." Emma looked at him. "This? You being kind and patient and helpful? It doesn't make sense. Men like you, men like me?" Roman's eyebrow arched. "Men with power. Men who are used to getting what they want. They don't just help people, not without expecting something." Roman was quiet for a long moment. Then he shifted on the couch, turning to face her fully. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. Emma nodded. "When I found Alexandra's body, I felt nothing." His voice was steady, controlled. "I should have felt grief or rage or something, but there was just emptiness. And I realized that I'd spent so long being what my family needed. Ruthless, cold, efficient, that I'd forgotten how to be human." Emma's throat tightened. "Then I heard your daughter in that grocery store, asking why her father hit her mother, and I felt something crack." Roman's gray eyes met hers. "Rage, yes, but also recognition, because I saw my sister in you. Saw all the women my family has failed to protect over the years, and I thought, here's a chance. Here's a chance to be something other than the monster everyone thinks I am." "You're not a monster," Emma heard herself say. "I am, though." Roman smiled sadly. "I've done monstrous things. Will probably do more before I'm done. But with you, with Lily, I get to pretend I'm just a man helping someone who needed help, and that means more to me than you know." Emma's hand moved before she could stop it, covering Roman's where it rested on the couch between them. His skin was warm, his fingers rough with old scars. "You're a good man, Roman Volkov," she whispered. "Whatever else you might be, you're good where it counts." Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe? Or hope? His hand turned under hers, palm up, fingers intertwining with hers, like they'd been made to fit together. "Emma," he said, her name rough in his throat. "I need to tell you something." "Okay." "This situation. You living here, me helping you." He paused, and Emma saw him choosing his words carefully. "It's not purely altruistic anymore." Emma's heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" "I mean that somewhere between the grocery store and now, my motivations became complicated." Roman's thumb brushed across her knuckles. "I care about you, about Lily. More than I should, more than I planned. And I need you to know that, because if it makes you uncomfortable, if you want to leave, I'll help you find your own place. No questions, no pressure." Emma stared at their joined hands. She should be afraid, should be wary of a powerful man admitting he had feelings for her when she was dependent on him for safety and security. But all she felt was a warmth spreading through her chest, melting ice she hadn't realized was there. "What if I don't want to leave?" she asked quietly. Roman's breath caught. "Don't say that unless you mean it." "I mean it." Emma looked up, meeting his gaze. "I don't know what this is or where it's going, but I know I feel safer with you than I've felt in years. And it's not just about the apartment or the lawyers or the job. It's about you. How you are with Lily. How you listen when I talk. How you've never once made me feel like I owe you anything." "You don't," Roman said firmly. "You don't owe me anything, Emma. Not now, not ever." "I know." She smiled, small, but real. "That's why I want to stay." Roman studied her face like he was memorizing it, his expression intense and vulnerable in equal measure. Then, slowly, he leaned closer. "Tell me to stop," he murmured, his breath warm against her lips. "If this isn't what you want, tell me to stop." Emma's heart was a wild thing in her chest. She should stop him, should be sensible and cautious, and protect herself from the possibility of more heartbreak. Instead, she closed the distance between them. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, like Roman was afraid she might shatter. But when Emma's hand came up to cup his jaw, when she made a small sound in the back of her throat, something in him seemed to break free. His arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer. His other hand threaded through her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss. And Emma felt herself melting into him, into the warmth and safety and possibility of this moment. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Roman pressed his forehead to hers. "I won't hurt you," he whispered. "I swear to you, Emma, I will never hurt you." "I know," she whispered back, and somehow, impossibly, she did. 2 months after that first kiss, Roman took Emma and Lily to a restaurant overlooking the river. It was fancy, the kind of place with cloth napkins and waiters who knew Roman by name. Lily wore a new dress that she'd picked out herself, pink with ribbons, and couldn't stop spinning to watch the skirt flare out. Emma wore the blue dress Roman had bought her, over her protests, that made her eyes look like the ocean on a clear day. They ordered pasta and garlic bread, and Lily chattered about her art class, while Roman listened with genuine interest. It was so normal, so perfectly domestic, that Emma had to remind herself this was her life now. Not a dream, not temporary. Real. Halfway through dinner, Roman cleared his throat. "Lily," he said seriously, "I need to ask you something important." Lily looked up from her spaghetti, sauce on her chin. "What?" "How would you feel if I married your mom?" Time stopped. Emma's fork clattered to her plate. "Roman." "Let her answer," he said gently, never taking his eyes off Lily. Lily's eyes went wide. "Really? You want to marry Mommy?" "Really," Roman smiled. But only if it's okay with you. You're part of this family, too. Would you be my daddy? Lily asked, her voice small and hopeful. I'd be honored to be your daddy, Roman said, if you'll have me. Lily launched herself at him, nearly knocking over her water glass in the process. Yes, 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 yes. Roman caught her, hugging her tight, and when his eyes met Emma's over Lily's shoulder, they were suspiciously bright. Emma's hand covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Roman carefully disentangled himself from Lily and stood, moving to kneel beside Emma's chair. From his pocket, he pulled a small velvet box. I know it's fast, he said quietly, opening the box to reveal a ring, simple, elegant, perfect. I know we've only known each other a few months, but Emma, I've never been more certain of anything in my life. You and Lily, you're my family now. You're my chance to be something better than what I was. So I'm asking, will you marry me? Emma looked at the ring, at Roman's hopeful face, at Lily bouncing in her seat with excitement. She thought about the woman she'd been in that grocery store, afraid and trapped and convinced she'd never escape. She thought about the woman she'd become, stronger, braver, learning to trust again. And she thought about the man kneeling in front of her, who'd seen her at her lowest and decided she was worth saving. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Roman slipped the ring onto her finger, a perfect fit, of course, and then he was kissing her, while Lily cheered, and the other diners applauded, and Emma felt, for the first time in longer than she could remember, completely and utterly happy. They married 3 months later in a small ceremony at the courthouse, with Lily as their flower girl and a handful of Roman's most trusted associates as witnesses. Emma wore white, not because she cared about tradition, but because Roman had looked at her in the bridal shop with such awe that she couldn't bear to wear anything else. The reception was held at Roman's family estate, a sprawling property outside the city that Emma had only seen once before. It was intimidating. All marble floors and crystal chandeliers and men in expensive suits who called Roman Sir and looked at Emma with curious respect. But Roman never left her side, his hand warm and steady in hers, introducing her as my wife, with a pride that made her chest ache. Late in the evening, after Lily had fallen asleep on a couch and most of the guests had filtered away, Roman led Emma out to the garden. The air was cool, the stars bright overhead, and somewhere in the distance she could hear the fountain bubbling. Happy? Roman asked, pulling her close. Emma leaned into him, breathing in the scent of his cologne and the underlying warmth that was just him. Happier than I ever thought I could be? Good. He kissed the top of her head. Because you deserve happiness, Emma. You and Lily both. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you have it. Even though I came with nothing? Emma asked. Even though I'm just... Don't. Roman tilted her chin up, his gray eyes serious. Don't diminish yourself. You came with everything that mattered. Strength, courage, love. You survived something that would have broken most people. That makes you extraordinary. I'm really not. You are. He kissed her softly. You're extraordinary, and you're mine, and I'm the luckiest man alive. Emma laughed through her tears. I thought mob bosses were supposed to be cold and ruthless. I am cold and ruthless, Roman smiled. Just not with you. Never with you. They stood there in the garden for a long time, wrapped in each other's arms, while the stars wheeled overhead, and the future stretched out before them. Uncertain, maybe, but full of possibility. Emma thought about the question Lily had asked in that grocery store aisle, the question that had changed everything. Mommy, why does Daddy hit you? She'd never answered it properly. Never explained to her daughter that sometimes people hurt the ones they're supposed to love, that sometimes love becomes twisted into something ugly and painful. But now she had a different answer. Now she could tell Lily that there were good people in the world too. People who protected instead of harmed. People who saw someone in trouble and decided to help, no questions asked, no price demanded. People like Roman Volkov, who'd overheard a question in a grocery store aisle and decided that one little girl and her mother deserved better. "Thank you," Emma whispered against Roman's chest, "for hearing us that day, for caring." "Thank you," Roman whispered back, "for letting me be the man I wanted to be, for giving me a family worth protecting." And there, under the stars, Emma finally understood what safety felt like. What love felt like when it wasn't tangled up with fear and pain. It felt like home. It felt like forever. It felt like the life she'd always deserved but never thought she'd have. And she was never letting it go. 6 months into their marriage, Emma learned that happiness was never truly safe. She was walking Lily home from school on a Tuesday afternoon, the autumn air crisp and golden, when she noticed the car. Black sedan, tinted windows, parked across the street from Lily's school. It had been there yesterday, too. And the day before. Emma's stomach twisted. She'd been married to a criminal long enough to recognize surveillance when she saw it. She took Lily's hand, walking a little faster than usual. "Come on, baby, let's get home." "But Mommy, you said we could get ice cream. Tomorrow." "We'll get ice cream tomorrow." The car followed them. Not close enough to be obvious, but there. Always there, maintaining a careful distance as Emma navigated the streets toward their building. Roman had moved them to a townhouse in a quieter neighborhood after the wedding, someplace Lily could have a yard and a room big enough for all her art supplies. Emma's phone was in her hand before she consciously decided to call Roman. He answered on the first ring. "What's wrong?" No preamble. He knew her well enough now to recognize the tension in her silence. "There's a car following us. Black sedan, no plates visible. It's been outside Lily's school for 3 days." She heard Roman's sharp intake of breath, then the sound of him moving, a door closing. "Where are you now?" 2 blocks from home." "Don't go home. Go to the coffee shop on 5th Street, the one with the blue awning. Stay inside where there are people. I'll be there in 10 minutes. "Roman, 10 minutes, Emma. I promise." The line went dead. Emma changed direction, steering Lily toward the coffee shop. Her daughter, bless her, seemed to sense something was wrong and didn't complain, just held Emma's hand tighter and walked faster. The car continued to follow. They made it to the coffee shop, and Emma practically shoved Lily inside, choosing a table in the back where she could see the entrance. Through the window, she watched the black sedan slow down, pause, then continue past. But it didn't leave. It circled the block once, twice, before parking across the street. Emma's hands shook as she ordered hot chocolate for Lily, coffee for herself that she didn't touch. She kept her eyes on the door, on the windows, on the car that sat there like a predator waiting for its moment. 7 minutes later, Roman's Mercedes pulled up so fast it left tire marks on the pavement. He was out of the car before it fully stopped, 2 men Emma recognized as his security detail flanking him. He came through the coffee shop door like a storm, his expression darker than she'd ever seen it. But when his eyes found her and Lily, when he saw they were safe, some of the tension left his shoulders. "Daddy!" Lily jumped up, running to him. She'd taken to calling Roman that almost immediately after the wedding, and it still made Emma's heart clench every time. Roman scooped her up, holding her tight for a moment before setting her back down. "Hey, sweetheart, why don't you finish your hot chocolate?" "I need to talk to Mommy for a second." He guided Emma to the corner of the shop, his hand on her lower back, his body positioned between her and the windows. "The car?" he asked quietly. "Still out there, across the street." Roman's jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, then pocketed it again. "My men are running the vehicle now. We'll know who they are in minutes." "Roman, who would be following us? Is it—" Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. "Is it about your business?" "Possibly." His hand found hers, squeezing gently. "There are people who might try to use you or Lily to get to me. I've had security on you since we got married, but they're subtle. This? Someone wanting you to notice they're following? This is a message." "What kind of message?" "The kind that says they know you're important to me." Roman's gray eyes met hers, and Emma saw something dangerous lurking there. The kind that means someone's made a very stupid mistake. His phone buzzed. He read the screen and his expression went cold. What is it? Emma asked. The car's registered to a shell company owned by Viktor Kozlov. Roman's voice was flat, emotionless. He's a rival, someone who's been trying to move into my territory for the past year. And now he's targeting your family. Yes. Roman looked at Lily, who was drawing on a napkin with crayons the barista had given her, blissfully unaware of the danger. Which means I need to end this, permanently. Emma's heart lurched. What are you going to do? What I have to. He cupped her face in his hands, his touch gentle despite the violence she could see building in him. I need you to trust me, Emma. Can you do that? She thought about the man who'd saved her from Jake, who'd given her and Lily a life worth living, who'd never once broken a promise to her. Always, she whispered. Roman kissed her forehead, then turned to his men. Take them home. 3-car convoy, full security protocol. No one gets within 100 feet of them. Where are you going? Emma asked, though she already knew. To have a conversation with Viktor Kozlov. Roman's smile was sharp and cold. One he won't forget. Emma spent that night pacing their townhouse, while Lily slept upstairs, Roman's security team stationed at every entrance and exit. She tried not to think about where Roman was, what he was doing. Tried not to imagine the violence he was capable of when someone threatened his family. But she couldn't stop seeing that black sedan. Couldn't stop thinking about what might have happened if Roman hadn't answered his phone, if she'd gone home instead of to the coffee shop, if whoever was in that car had decided to take action instead of just watch. It was past midnight when she heard the front door open. Emma rushed to the foyer and stopped short. Roman stood in the doorway, his shirt untucked, his knuckles split and bloody. But he was alive. He was whole. Is it over? Emma asked. It's over. Roman closed the door behind him, engaging the locks. Viktor Kozlov won't be a problem anymore. Neither will anyone else who thinks they can use my family against me. Emma wanted to ask what he'd done. Wanted details and confirmation, and some kind of proof that this was really finished. But one look at Roman's face told her she didn't want to know. Some things were better left in the shadows where they belonged. Instead, she crossed to him, took his injured hands in hers, and led him to the kitchen. She cleaned his knuckles in silence, gentle and methodical, while Roman watched her with an intensity that made her skin warm. You're not afraid of me, he said quietly, even knowing what I just did. Should I be? Most people would be. Emma finished bandaging his left hand and started on his right. I'm not most people, and you're not the monster you think you are. I hurt people tonight, Emma. Badly. Some of them might not survive. People who were threatening your family. She met his eyes. People who were following your wife and daughter, scaring us, making us feel unsafe. You protected us. That's not being a monster. That's being a husband and a father. Something in Roman's expression cracked. He pulled her close with his newly bandaged hands, burying his face in her hair. I was so afraid, he whispered. When you called, when I realized someone had gotten close enough to follow you, I've never been that afraid in my life. We're safe now. You made us safe. What if I can't always protect you? What if next time there won't be a next time? Emma pulled back just enough to look at him. Because everyone in this city knows now what happens when someone threatens Roman Volkov's family. You made sure of that tonight. Roman studied her face, and Emma saw the moment he let himself believe her. Let himself accept that they were okay, that this was over, that his fear could finally ease. I love you, he said roughly. God, Emma, I love you so much. I love you too. She kissed him softly, tasting copper and smoke and the promise of safety. Now come to bed. Tomorrow we'll figure out how to make sure this never happens again. The next morning, Roman made a phone call that Emma wasn't meant to overhear, but their townhouse was smaller than the apartment had been, and sound carried through the walls. I want a meeting, Roman said, his voice cold and commanding. All the families, tomorrow night. My territory, my terms. Emma couldn't hear the response, but Roman's next words made her breath catch. Tell them Roman Volkov is making a declaration about his family. Tell them anyone who wasn't clear about the consequences before will understand them perfectly after tomorrow night. When he found Emma in the kitchen an hour later, she was making pancakes for Lily, who sat at the counter doing homework. You heard, Roman said quietly, coming to stand beside her. I heard. Emma flipped a pancake. What are you declaring? That you and Lily are completely off limits. That anyone who so much as looks at you wrong will answer to me personally. He paused. And I'm going to make it very clear what answering to me means. Is that necessary? After last night? Last night sent a message to Victor's organization. This sends a message to everyone else. Roman's hand found her waist, pulling her close. I won't have you living in fear, Emma. I won't have you looking over your shoulder every time you take our daughter to school. So I'm going to make sure every criminal in this city knows that touching my family is suicide. Emma set down the spatula and turned to face him fully. And you're sure this will work? That it won't make us more of a target? In my world, respect is everything. Fear is currency. Roman's gray eyes were serious. When people fear the consequences of something more than they want, whatever benefit it might bring them, they don't do it. I'm going to make sure everyone fears the consequences of threatening you. Lily looked up from her homework. Are we going somewhere tomorrow night? You and Mommy are staying home with extra security, Roman said, ruffling her hair. Daddy has to go to a boring grown-up meeting. Okay. Lily went back to her math problems, completely unbothered. Emma wished she had a child's ability to trust that easily. The day of the meeting, Roman left the townhouse at dusk. He wore a black suit that made him look every inch the dangerous man he was, and when he kissed Emma goodbye, there was a promise in it. I'll be back before midnight, he murmured against her lips. And after tonight, this life, our life, it's going to be safer. I swear it. Be careful, Emma whispered. Always. Then he was gone, and Emma was left with Lily, 2 security guards, and a growing sense of anxiety that she couldn't quite shake. They made dinner together, played board games, watched a movie. Lily fell asleep on the couch around 9, and Emma carried her upstairs, tucking her into bed with her stuffed rabbit. Then Emma returned to the living room and waited. 9:30 came and went. 10 o'clock. 10:30. At 11:15, Emma's phone rang. She grabbed it so fast she nearly dropped it. Roman? It's done. His voice was rough but triumphant. It's done, Emma. I made the declaration. Showed them what I did to Victor's men. Made it clear that my family is untouchable. He paused. Every major player in the city witnessed it, agreed to it. You and Lily are safe now. Truly safe. Emma's legs gave out. She sank onto the couch, one hand pressed to her mouth. You're sure? I'm sure. No one will risk crossing this line, not after what they saw tonight. What did they see? Proof that I meant every word. Roman's voice softened. I'm coming home now. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Okay. Emma wiped her eyes, not sure when she'd started crying. Okay. I'll be waiting. She hung up and sat there in the quiet house, letting the reality sink in. Her daughter would grow up without fear, without looking over her shoulder, without wondering if today was the day something terrible happened. Roman had given them that, had used his power, his violence, his reputation, to carve out a space in his dangerous world where Emma and Lily could be safe. When he came through the door 23 minutes later, Emma met him in the foyer and kissed him with everything she had. Gratitude and love and relief and trust all tangled together. Thank you, she whispered against his lips. Thank you for protecting us. Roman held her close, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other wrapped around her waist. You're my family. I'd burn the whole city down before I let anyone hurt you. Emma believed him. More than that, she was grateful for it. Whatever Roman had done tonight, whatever violence he'd committed or threatened, it was born from love. from the same fierce protectiveness that had made him follow her out of that grocery store 6 months ago. "Come to bed," she said softly. "Tomorrow we can start really living, without fear, without looking back." Roman smiled, a real smile, warm and genuine. "I like the sound of that." They climbed the stairs hand in hand, checking on Lily one last time before retreating to their own room. Through the window, Emma could see the city lights twinkling in the distance, beautiful and peaceful, and finally safe. She thought about the woman she'd been, standing in a cereal aisle with bruises hidden under long sleeves and no hope of escape. That woman would never have imagined this life, this man, this love, this safety. But she'd gotten it anyway, because one man had overheard a little girl's question and decided that some things were worth fighting for. Emma curled into Roman's arms that night feeling safer than she ever had, and when Lily crawled into their bed at 6 a.m, demanding pancakes and cartoons, Roman just laughed and carried her downstairs on his shoulders, while Emma followed behind them, her heart full to bursting. This was her family, her real family. The one built not on obligation or fear, but on choice and love and fierce protection. And she was never, ever letting it go. Years later, when Lily was older and asked about how Emma and Roman met, Emma would tell her the truth, about the grocery store and the question that changed everything, about the man who heard a little girl ask why her daddy hit her mommy and decided that no child should have to ask that question. She'd tell Lily about courage, both the courage to leave and the courage to trust again, about how sometimes safety came from the most unexpected places, and how love could bloom even in the darkest soil. But most of all, she'd tell her daughter that she was the reason for everything. That one brave question from a 5-year-old girl had saved them both and given them a life worth living. Because that's what love did. Real love. The kind that protected and cherished and fought for what mattered. It saved you, it changed you, it gave you a home. And Emma had finally found hers.